was an interesting and busy month for the House Labor and Industry Committee, which held a series of hearings on prevailing wage. Let's spend a few minutes on the subject with Committee Chairman and State Representative Ron Miller from the 93rd Legislative District. Representative, you have a horse in this race, as they say, House Bill 1367. Let's talk exactly about what that bill does.
House Bill 1367 is an attempt to improve the data that is used to set the prevailing wage rate in this state. There is an argument that many believe is true that says that right now it is basically whatever the nearest union hall wage rate is what is used as the prevailing wage rate. There's a lot of companies, private companies, that will not participate in a wage survey, submit the data, and to some degree for a valid reason. If you own a construction company, I own a construction company, I don't want you to know what I pay my prize backhoe operator, because you might be tempted, if he's that good, to try to hire him away. So we try to keep that data not totally out there in the public for competitive reasons. The unions, of course, just submit their wage rates, and that's what tends to be used. So 1367 is an attempt to find what might be a more valid database.
Okay, let's talk about some of the charges that were made during the hearing about your bill, one being that measuring stick is inaccurate.
It's an interesting charge. The federal government requires every state in the country to gather this data. And if the federal government requires it to be gathered, the question becomes, what's it get used for? To some degree, we believe in Pennsylvania it gets used to set the unemployment comp rates. So if it's valid data for that, why wouldn't it be valid for prevailing wage? We're willing to take a look at that. We're looking at the validity of the data, determining whether or not it is valid enough or can be enhanced so it is valid enough to be the data that's used to set prevailing wage.
It is said that, it was said frequently, that you're suppressing wages. How do you plead on that, so to speak?
Well, if the prevailing wage rate is artificially high right now, I guess they have a valid point. The question becomes, why is it important for the taxpayers of Pennsylvania to support an artificially high wage rate that, remember, it's only paid when taxpayers' money is being used to fund projects. So on roads, bridges, schools, people make more money working on those projects than they would in their job normally because the taxpayers are paying for it. So if we're suppressing it, maybe it's time it is suppressed.
You've maintained all along that if you amend the Prevailing Wage Act, you spread the money out, or stretch it, so to speak, and more projects get done.
Look at it this way. If we have 100 bridges that need replaced in Pennsylvania, all of about the same design, construction, and we have more miles of creek crossings than any state in the nation except for Alaska, I believe. So if you are going to replace 100 bridges, even if it's only a 1% increase due to prevailing wage, that means you could replace 101 bridges. We hear an argument. It's not really the 30% some people say. It's not really 5% or 1% like others contend. It's somewhere in between. Fine, let's pick 15%. That's 15 more bridges that would be replaced when we're struggling to catch up with our crumbling infrastructure. So, you know, we definitely could do more projects. The debate is only centered on how many more.
We have about a minute remaining. If it's possible to do this, these are informational hearings, so what'd you learn?
There's very little middle ground. Almost no middle ground right now. Both sides of the prevailing wage issue are deeply entrenched. So we're going to have to go back through all the testimony, talk to the members of the committee, and see what we have an appetite to attempt to do to better the business climate in Pennsylvania, help the taxpayers by getting more value for the tax dollars that are spent. But it's difficult, because if you are not finding a middle ground, then it's very, very difficult to move forward. We have a whole series of bills. There's about 9 prevailing wage bills in the committee that do various things: raise the threshold for requiring prevailing wage on a public project, to the bills that we talked about. There's just very many bills, and we will be looking at seeing whether there is one or a combination of them that will help the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
We should mention the hearings are available for viewing on Representative Miller's website. If you do have questions on this or any other legislative topic, we'll tell you how to get in touch with Representative Miller in a few seconds. I'm Scott Little. Thanks for spending 5 minutes with State Representative Ron Miller.